Howdy, this is Ben, and I'm going to give a brief overview of an introduction to mandolin chop chords for bluegrass mandolin. This is going to be real basic, but chop chords are, why would we use chop chords in bluegrass music? Well, one thing, they're always closed positions, which means you're not playing any open strings, which means that doesn't matter what key you're playing in, you can just use these shapes and shift them wherever to accommodate what key you're playing. So like, while the guitars might be able to put a capo on to accommodate for a weird key, mandolin usually doesn't do that, but if we can have these closed chord positions, then we don't need it. Also, another good thing about having all a totally closed position is you can mute using only your left hand by letting up on the strings, and that's really useful because remember that in bluegrass music the mandolin is largely a percussion instrument, so we want to be able to have a really dry sound without a lot of ringing over notes, and it lets you have that kind of dry chop. That's why these are called chop chords. Okay, so we're going to look at 4 or 5 basic chords in the key of G. So first of all, your G chord, G chop chord, is if you're going from top to bottom, it's going to be 7th fret with your pinky, 5th fret with your ring finger, 2nd fret with your pointer finger, 3rd fret with your middle finger. Okay, it's a little bit of a stretch, but you do get used to it. If it's too much of a stretch, you can drop the pinky for now. Something to work up to. But if you drop the pinky, try to not play that low string. Okay? So just get on the G chord for a minute there. And now, since this is kind of I'm no real experienced mandolin player, this hurts my hand because I don't do it a whole lot. But a good thing is that doing these chop chords, you only need to squeeze when you're actually hitting the note. In fact, that's what you want to do because you don't want a bunch of sustain on the notes in most applications. So practice doing this and just squeezing right when you strum. Okay, it's like remember that in mandolin we almost always accent at least or strum on the upbeats. So if I'm counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and that's the mandolin spot is on the upbeat. So try that just squeezing when you actually play. So 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. See how we get that nice kind of dry sound, and you can see where my fingers were actually squeezing versus not. If I'm not squeezing, it's a totally dry sound. When you're playing, that's not useless. A lot of times you use a combination of not squeezing and squeezing to get some cool rhythmic stuff. That kind of thing. So that's something you can also play around with. Okay, so to not let this video get too long, that's our G chord. Now we're going to go to our C chord, which if we're doing numbered chords, G is your 1 chord, your root chord. C is going to be our 4 chord. Okay. Now this is easy. Take everything and shift it up a string. So what does that mean? That means your pinky, don't need it anymore. We're going to shift these 3 up a string, same position, and you can actually use your pinky to just kind of mute this bottom string because we're not going to play it right now. This is a C chord. Right, same thing, just squeeze when you're playing. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and I'm only playing the top 3 strings. Now, that's our 4 chord. If we want to get to our 5 chord in the key, which in this case is a D, all you got to do is take this 4 chord and slide it up 2 frets, 1 whole step. So 1, 2. Now, that's your D chord. Okay, that's your 5 chord. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and and then we'll go back to our G. So try that. Try just cycling from G, C, D, and back. So let's try that once. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now C, 1 and 2 and 3 and now D, 1 and 2 and 3 and back to G, 1 and 2 and 3. Okay. I didn't actually say this. I should have clarified. So for that C chord, I'm in the G position right now. Shift everything up 1. So now our fret numbers are 5th fret with your ring finger, 2nd fret with your pointer finger, 3rd fret with your middle finger. Okay, and then that shape slides up to 7, 4, 5. 7, 4, 5. Okay. Now, what have we left out? We left out our 6 minor chord, which in the key of G is going to be an E minor. Okay, so let's think about this without thinking too hard. Okay, this is our D chord. We're on 7, 4, 5. If we slide that up 2 frets, oops, that's our E major chord, which is not unuseful, but less useful. To transition this shape from a major to a minor chord shape, all we gotta do is take our pointer finger and slide it 1 fret toward the headstock, 1 fret lower. Okay, E major, E minor. Okay, so the numbers for that E minor are, let's see, 9, 5, 7. And again, we're just not hitting that bottom string. So to me, that's the one that I have the hardest time jumping to because it's further away from the others. So if you have to jump from a G back up to this, that's going to take some practice. But I just try to think, use the dots on your mandolin's neck here. My middle finger is centered on that 7th fret dot. So if this is G, E minor, G, E minor. Oops, that was E major. Okay. So, try doing that. Try going different combinations of those chords. Since this is a beginner video, there's some things I skipped over I should have. When you're strumming your mandolin, you want to strum kind of right around where the bottom of the fretboard is. I was always tempted starting out to strum down here, which is sort of feels like more where you would on a guitar. You don't get as good a sound down there. If you want that real dry, choppy sound, you want kind of right up here around the bottom of the fretboard. I think we'll leave it at that. Good luck.